Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's update session around Dynamics 365 Business Central. You see a different screen from us than you used to. Bernie, my colleague, will explain you later. Today I see not a lot of entities, so you have a great opportunity to ask all your urgent and top-of-mind questions to Bernie. He has the time for it around Dynamics 360 Business Central. This session will be recorded and will be shared afterwards with you if you have a question. So today, because we are not with a lot of people, open your mic and you can ask your questions to Bernie. Bernie, can you take it over?
Hi guys, if you guys can hear me, maybe just pop me a message in the message box over there. Feel free during the session to ask your questions in the message box over there. I actually think there is not as much participants today, so if you guys want to ask a question, pop me a message in the side and then we'll unmute your mic. You can even ask it over the microphone as well. What I have got prepared for you guys today is I've actually been giving quite a couple of sessions as of late as to how to set up a demo environment. I've been assisting quite a couple of partners in terms of presentations, etc. Also at Microsoft Directions, there was actually a session, how to demo Business Central, just giving guys tips and tricks in terms of how to actually go and demo Business Central. So on Friday last week, I walked into a presentation, and when I actually went to businesscentral.dynamics.com and tried to log on, the screen that you see in front of you was what I was presented with. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the problems that you might run into when demoing, and some of the setups and things that you can actually do to sort of prevent these types of things from happening. And also I'll also share with you guys what I have actually done in terms of a backup plan if I do go into a presentation and this type of thing does actually happen on the website. Just for those of you that don't know how to actually provision a demo environment for Business Central, I'll also just run through that quickly. I'll go to demos.microsoft.com and trials.dynamics.com over there and actually just give you guys a quick rundown. So the entire training session that I usually present is about 3 hours. During that session, we actually do set up a full Business Central demo tenant online for us. So if you guys have any questions or comments about problems that you have encountered during presentations in the past, please feel free to share them over there. Just let's get started over here on the left-hand side. So the first site that you go to when provisioning a demo environment is there's this website, demos.microsoft.com. You go to demos.microsoft.com, log on with your account and your details over there, and in here you have the ability to provision up to 6 demo tenant environments in the Microsoft Office 365 environments. So what this allows you to do is in these environments, you'll see my tenants down there. And what I have actually done over here is I've actually just put up a picture over here to show you what the tenants look like, just mainly because my passwords are in there. So what it does is it actually creates a demo environment. You'll see it generates a number, M365B, Microsoft 365 Business Central, obviously. And then there's a random number that just generates towards the end over there. So you will be given a demo username and an admin username and a password. So what it'll do is it'll ask you for a 4-digit PIN, and that will become part of your password. So first part of your email address and then an @ sign, and then the PIN number that you actually give will become your password. And this becomes a full Office 365 environment that you can actually log on to, and from which you can actually provision a Business Central demo tenant. So once you provision that environment, okay, now keeping in mind that the email address that you log on with over here will be your organizational email address. That will be the email address that you've got associated with your Microsoft partnership account. So in other words, and I actually did when I joined QBS, just to show you guys over here, the email that you actually get sent. So you'll get an email from itmbssupport@microsoft.com, and it'll say, welcome to PartnerSource. And it actually asks you to associate your account to the specific business account. It gives you a link. You just need to click on the link, and they give you some steps over there that you need to follow just to get your account associated. Once your account is actually associated with an organization, and that organization is a Microsoft partner, you will have the ability to create tenants in this environment over here. I just want to actually show you guys, when you click on the create tenant over there, you will see it goes onto a screen. The tenant type will always be a quick tenant. You'll select the period over there, and then you'll have to select the region for which you want to create your demo tenant. So what I have found over here, for instance, is if you choose North America as your demo tenant for Office 365, then obviously the Dynamics Business Central, the Dynamics 365 Business Central environment that gets created for you will be a US-based demo company. So it'll have dollars, and it'll say Cronus US, etc. If you choose, for instance, over here, United Kingdom, obviously you'll get a pound-based UK demo company. When you select Europe, Middle East, Africa, you always get a Dutch-based Business Central demo tenant. And this is a question that I've had a lot from partners, and not just from partners locally, from partners internationally, is that they say they always get a Dutch tenant. Is it because they're associated with QBS? And this is the reason over here. You need to select a different area or region over here to get a different demo tenant. One of the things that we don't have over here, unfortunately, and this is an issue that I have raised with Microsoft, is the fact that we don't have any option over here we can choose that actually gives us a W1 tenant. And I know a lot of partners have actually asked for that. But the region you choose will determine the tenant, and obviously the language, etc., that you will actually have your demo tenant in. So once you have actually created this, and your demo tenant is over here, you get a username, you get an admin user and a password. You can now go to the following web page, which will be trials.dynamics.com. So when you go to this web page over here, this is the screen that will actually pop up for you. And you see over here today, I actually have exactly the same scenario that I had last week, where the options that pop up over here will be determined by your country and your location. So obviously, probably utilizing your IP address or whatever, Microsoft determines where you are actually located, and the options that pop up over here for you to create demo tenants will be dependent on the location where you are. So I've always had Business Central over here, and then last week, all of a sudden, somewhere I logged on, I did not have the Business Central option over here. Now, this sometimes happens when you logged on with the wrong email address as well, or you might actually be logged on to one of the Microsoft sites. So one of the things that has been mentioned quite a lot on the blogs I've seen is to make sure that you're running your browser in an in-private mode, that you've logged out of all web pages. Sometimes they even suggest rebooting your PC to ensure that no persistent logons are actually maintained in the background. But when you open an in-private screen over there, you might not get the Business Central option over here to create a Microsoft Business Central tenant. One of the things you can do to solve that is, and you'll see over here as well, what I tried to do over here was I tried to log on to my Business Central demo tenant that I wanted to use for a presentation, and it came up and gave me an error message, just said something went wrong, please try again later. So let me show you what I've normally done. I normally from here just go to portal.azure.com. You can also go to portal.office.com. One of the websites that actually has the ability to log whatever user's logged on off. So you can see over there, I'm actually logged on with that user over there. But from here, I have a sign out option. This is an option that you don't get on the Business Central page. So when you go to Business Central, you're about to demo, you try to log on with your demo user and you keep getting the error message, even though you're in private, even though you've deleted all of your history, etc. It still persists and gives you error messages. Go to portal.azure, portal.office.com, choose the logout option, and then go back to, if I can just copy my URL, I forgot to create a shortcut for this one. I can just copy my URL over there and I paste it in there. Now when I go back to my URL, it pops up and says, which user would you like to log on as? Now I can choose my demo user, log on as my actual demo user, and this is always the I think I typed in the wrong password over there. I was about to say this is always the risk you run when you do a live demo, but I actually think that I just typed in the wrong password over there. So if we just try and get onto that tenant again, okay, it actually let me on, so I probably typed the right password. So there we go. I'm now signed in as Megan Bowden from my .onmicrosoft.com tenant that I actually created. And I wish I had the time in this session to actually show you guys. You'll see over here, if I now go back to my demos.microsoft and trials.dynamics.com, that it's actually signed me out of these pages. Now I'm actually signed in as Megan Bowden. So I wish I had the time in this session to actually show you guys the full process on demo and trials, etc. But how to actually set up and provision this environment, unfortunately, we don't have the full time to actually take you guys through all of that in this session today. So once you're actually signed in as Megan Bowden over there, your sign in and sign out woes might actually continue. The problem is that, let's say for instance, I go to, and this is one of the demos that I normally do, I go into a general journal, and from here I might go into one of the journals over here, create one line, and then try and show the guys how you can actually use the page, got to learn these new menus, edit in Excel feature over there. So what this actually does is it takes the current information, dumps it down into Excel, allows you to edit it, and then publish it back into your Business Central tenant. So I've actually been having a problem with this as of late, and I hope that the problem is actually going to persist so I can actually show you guys what the problem is and how it's causing problems. From here, when it comes up, you've just got to click on Enable Editing up top. Once that enables, then it pops up with a little Business Central on the side over here. Now it tries to log on to Business Central with your stored credentials that you would have typed into Excel before. So now we start getting into all sorts of problems, because if you have a look over here, you can see that I've got, and there's only 3 showing, I've actually got 6 different tenants running that I've been using for different presentations, for different customers, for different training sessions, etc. And you will probably see that it's trying to use one of my old tenant numbers over there. So even if you go sign out over here, and even if you go sign back in again, this does not always work 100%. So one of the tips that we learned at Directions this year is to create a separate user account. So if you go to your computer and you right click on this PC and you say manage, or you go through the start menu to get to computer management, in there you will find local users and groups. Now what you need to do over there is expand the local users and groups, go into users over there, right click and add a new user. You'll see over there that I've added a demo user for the presentation I did today, and let's call this demo 2, demo of BC, and then give it a password over there. And then what I normally do is just untick the user must change the password at the next logon and hit the create button. Now what you're doing over there is you're creating a completely separate Windows user on your PC, and what I would suggest you do from here onwards is hit the Control-Alt-Delete button. I don't know if I hit Control-Alt-Delete whether you guys can see, but that gives you the switch user option over there. Actually switch to that user, and when you get into that user account, never log on to one demo user with more than one of your tenants that you've actually created. So if you've created a demo environment, actually log off, log on as a different user on your computer, and always ensure that on that user you only ever log on as your Megan Bowden user in one of your different tenants. And this I have found has sorted out all of the password problems that I have actually encountered. So you'll see over there, even though it's signed me out of the other account, it doesn't give me a sign back in option anywhere over here. And I've had just endless problems with the Excel add-in ever since I have started logging on with more than one user at an actual time. So there we go, just a couple of tips and tricks and things that you can do to actually create the demo environment and make it work a little bit better for you. So a couple of things that I do then when I do my presentations, I always make sure that in the demo tenant that I've created, I go into the customers over here. And in my customers over here, if I go and create a customer for myself, what I'll normally actually go and do is at least post 1 or 2 sales invoices for that customer. But the main thing, 2 things that I do for that customer is to fit in with the rest of the demo data is I firstly go and import a picture to ensure that it sort of looks the same as the rest of the demo data. I fill in telephone numbers, but I specifically go and fill in my email address, and this is actually my private email address that I go and fill in over here so that I can send myself an email in the presentation requesting a specific quote so that you can assist in demoing the actual Outlook features. So from within the customer, simply create a customer and ensure that whatever email address you are going to use to send an email to yourself is actually entered in over there. So from there, if you go into portal.office.com and make sure you log into office.com with that same demo user that you have actually created. So what you'll get is the Megan user, the demo user that we're using over here. You'll see there's her email address, meganb@m365b483591.onmicrosoft.com. Make sure that you've got that email address actually typed into your, I usually use a separate iPad that I keep on the side, and I use the iPad to send myself the email. So when you log on to Office as Megan Bowden, you'll see over there I'm actually logged on as that Megan user. Open up Outlook from there. And of course, within Business Central, you would have had to make sure that under Setup and Extensions in your menus when you come in, you go into the Assisted Setup over there and make sure that you have actually got the business inbox in Outlook setup. This is just the next installation. So literally you go to set up your business inbox in Outlook. Obviously I've run this before, so it asks me if I want to run it again. And it's just a next, what do you want to set up, my inbox or the entire organization's connection? So for the demo tenant, we just select my inbox, click on the next button. You can even send a sample email, hit the next button, and then it's just finished from there. So I'm just going to close this because I've run the wizard before. And then when you log on to your email over here, you will see that Microsoft has even gone as far as in the demo user, creating a bunch of emails in the demo user so it doesn't look too empty, and you can actually see a couple of things. So in today's presentation, what I then show the users is how Microsoft actually, if you click on an email that does not have an email address, when you click on Business Central over there, it then comes through and tells you that there is no associated contact with a specific email address, and asks you if you'd like to create one. So over there, do you want to create a new contact? And then I usually click on my email, which would be this one over here, where I usually request a quote for an Athens desk. And this, when you click on Business Central, because the email address is actually associated with the actual user, with a customer account that I created in Business Central, you have the ability to immediately show some information about that contact in here. So over here, if you look at the balance, see why I normally just at least post 1 or 2 invoices against the customer, just so that there's at least a balance. And then when you click on the balance, that it at least shows 1 or 2 transactions in here. See, this looks a little empty when you come in here. I then go through and I show the type of information that you have access to immediately right here, the credit limit, sales, etc. And then I usually show the ability to just create a new sales quote from here. and step them through the process, and then email the sales quote back to the actual user that requested the quote from us. So this is one of the second things that I normally show. And sorry guys, I'm just having a look at my notes over here. Of course, down at the bottom over here, when it comes down to the Power BI on the home screen, if you have not set up Power BI, this Power BI report over here will actually show nothing. So one of the other things you would need to set up is Power BI. So what you can do is just go to the Power BI website. All of the toolbar shortcuts that I create for myself normally is now on the demo user and not actually on this user over here. I found out just before the presentation that if I signed out of my current user and signed into the other user, I don't have access to my Skype for Business, which came as a bit of a shock, so I had to come back to my normal user to actually do the presentation. But when you log on to Power BI, just go to app.powerbi.com. Make sure you sign in with your Megan Bowden user that you have created. This immediately, because you sign in with the same user and with the same password, knows that this Power BI is actually connected to the same Office 365 instance. And for those of you that are not aware, Office 365 and the Office 365 Admin Center over here is actually where we administer and maintain everything, even from a Business Central licensing perspective, etc. So when you get into Power BI, the only thing you will need to do is go down to the apps over here, and on the right hand side, if you come in here the first time, there will only be a search content screen over there. The Get Apps button on the right hand side over there only appears once you've added the first app. So there's a bit of a tricky thing that you've got to do. So once you type in your search for the first time, then it says not finding your content, search in the App Store. And only once you do that will it open the window that actually searches in the App Store for you. So Microsoft has a bunch of predefined Power BI reports that we can just very easily install. And this is something that even the salespeople can do when they're setting up their demo tenants. Is just go to the apps over there and just go and search for Business Central. And you will find a whole bunch of prepackaged Power BI reports that you can just very easily install. Okay, so from here, you just literally, and for some other reason, the finance one doesn't want to install. I think it's the October release of Business Central. You'll see when you say get it now, it's ever since the October release, this one doesn't want to actually install. You have to type in the name of your company over there. So if you go back to Business Central, that'll be the name of the company that you've got up here. Now, I actually did a presentation in South Africa. My company name is actually Cronus UK Limited. So let me show you some of the things that I do for my presentation. Is if I go to companies over here, you'll see that there's a name and a display name. So I just literally changed the display name to Cronus ZA Limited. Just for those of you that are in different countries where you don't have a demo tenant for you to use, I also go to the general ledger setup. And in the general ledger setup, I literally just changed the LCY code and the local currency symbol and the local currency description. Now, if you are not demoing any of the multi-currency features in Business Central, this will just display all of your reports and everything as your actual local currency. I just find that we get too many questions as soon as it's foreign currency and a foreign company and everything else. The guys get under the impression that there is no localized version within a specific country. It's just that we cannot create demo tenants for every single country out there. And we don't have a demo tenant, obviously, for South Africa. So I just make the company look like an actual South African company up there. What I also do is I literally just go to the VAT setup screens. So the VAT posting setup over there, I literally just go into the VAT posting setup and literally just change the VAT percentages to whatever the South African VAT percentage is. It just helps. I have actually done a demo where I didn't do that, and when I created a sales order, one of the questions was, why is the VAT percentage wrong? It is a little bit of a shortcut way of actually being able to present, but it at least gives you the ability to give a local presentation, localize the presentation a little bit more. So in the Power BI side, let's just get back here after I've digressed. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to say that the company name is Cronus UK Limited. We're going to hit the next button over here, and you'll see that over here it's going to ask me to actually sign in. And I just want to show you guys the error that we're getting at the moment. So that's going to be my Megan Bowden user that we're going to sign in as. Okay, and then you'll see up at the top right-hand side, it says installing app. This could take a little while, but then it comes up and gives you an error message. Now, this error message has started popping up ever since the October release of Business Central. So I think what might have happened, some of the data or something has changed. I have not actually taken the time to look into this or see if anybody has found the solution into this. But this one, for instance, does not work. There are, however, quite a couple of the other ones that actually do work. You'll see over here, what have I installed over here? Let's just see if we can get to the name. This one is the items list. Let's see what other ones we've got over there. And what this actually does is when you install these different apps on Power BI, there's actually nothing you need to do. Those reports are immediately, if you go into select reports over here under Power BI reports, those reports are immediately available for you within Business Central. And at least you will have a report in there that you can actually show Power BI. Okay, so we have set up a demo tenant. We've localized it a little bit. I've shown you guys how to set up just a quick presentation so you can show the Outlook features. And I've shown you how to set up the Outlook integration. Let's actually have a look at, if we go into Office, I'm going to click on Power Apps over there, and that'll sign me into Power Apps. And of course, what I do as well is I actually download the Business Central app onto the my phone as well as onto a tablet. And I've got a dongle that I actually plug in so that I can actually display that on the screen. It's usually a fairly good feature to show the users. So what I do on the Power Apps side of things is I usually have two possibilities that I can demo over here. I have a app that I have pre-created, and I always leave another app as an ability to quickly show the users how to create an app. When you come into the apps over here, and then of course what I do is I also download the Power Apps app for my phone. And on the phone as well as on the tablet, I log onto both Business Central and Power Apps as the Megan Bowden user so that I'm looking at the exact same data. I have actually had it in the past where the user said, show me that this thing is actually working. So once, if you've done that, you can actually go onto the tablet, change a telephone number or something for a customer, log back onto Business Central online, and actually show them that the data has actually changed over there. So what you can do is, if you haven't got that much time, just go into the existing app that you've created. I'll show you guys how to create this app in just a second. When you click on the customer demo app, it actually immediately opens up in the app being used at that point in time. Okay, so from here on, you can actually go into a specific customer over there. You can show details about the customer. You can edit details about the customer. And once you're done editing, say, I'm done editing this, and go back to the main screen. So it's just a short customer demo. If you've got more time to actually show the app, what I'll sometimes do is go onto the phone, just open the app from there and actually show it over there as well to show that it actually works on the mobile device. But what I'll normally do is from the home page, there is a little wizard way of creating an app that you can do within a presentation. So what I can actually do is on the right hand side over here, you'll see three options: a Canvas app, a model driven app, and then it says start from data on the right hand side over there. And see what it says over there. It says it actually automatically generates a 3-screen mobile app from your data, and then you can customize it and make it your own from there. So if you just click on make this app, you can actually show how quick and easy it is to create the app. And usually I'll have a slide on the screen, and before I start showing Power Apps, etc., I'll talk about the common data services and talk around the technologies and everything else around it. And when I get to this point, I'll usually mention the connectors. There's, if I remember correctly, about 350 or 360 different connectors that are available for you to actually use. So see there, it says start with your data. You normally won't see Business Central on this list over here. So if you just use the little arrow on the right-hand side over there, you'll see existing connections that you've used in the past will pop up over there, or you can click on new connection, which will pop up a list and show you a list of all of the available connectors. And this is where I usually say to them, and there's 350 of these connecting to all sorts of different applications, and talk around the how easy it is to actually make apps that pull data from all these different areas, including the common data services, even Dropbox, OneDrive, and all the rest of the stuff as well. So when you get here, just click on Business Central. And when it comes here, just say, I'd like to create an app. Now, at this point, it's going to log on to your Business Central, and it's actually going to look at the web services that are available and what web services you've got available that will allow us to create an app like this. So you'll see it's actually created two separate connections over there. Those are actually the same connection. On the right-hand side, it says, which company would you like to use? In the demo tenant, when Microsoft spins up a demo tenant for you, there are actually two demo companies. Don't get confused and choose the Contoso company whenever you are selected or proposed with options. Because that Contoso company, what Microsoft has done is they've spun up sort of a demo company that the user can quickly go into and just go next, next, next. Yes, I'd like to set up that. Yes, I'd like to set up a chart of accounts, this, that, and the next thing. And they can actually start doing their own thing in this demo company that we've presented for them. The Cronus one is the one that we use for the presentations that actually got the demo data on it. So we choose the Cronus company over there. And here are the two that I normally use for my presentations. So what I'll do is I'll have the customer one that I've already pre-created. But if I haven't got that much time, I can just show the users. But then I've got the vendors one over here as well, which gives me the ability to just, if I want to show them how to create the app, come in here, click on the vendors and say connect. And then it just starts building your app. And the same app that I've just shown you guys is the app that will actually be created here for us. So it comes up and says building your app. And this usually takes a little while, so make sure you've got something to talk about while this thing is actually running in the background, busy creating the app. So this will create a 3-screen app. The first screen will just be a list that shows you a list of the customers or the vendors. Then when you click on an actual customer, it'll go down into the details and show you the details for that customer. And then when you click on the last one, so you'll see there's my 3 screens that it creates, a browse screen, a detail screen, and an edit screen. And these 3 screens over here are the default app that it just creates for you. And this is brilliant to just use for demonstration purposes, just to give the guys an indication of what actually happens over here. If you're feeling brave, make sure you mess around with this a little bit before the time. So on the browse screen over there, you'll see that I have a browse gallery. And as you click on the different items on the left-hand side, you'll see it actually gets highlighted on the right-hand side over there. So if you're feeling a little brave, what you can do over there is you can go to the different components over there and see at the top over there. And I've heard in presentations Microsoft compare this to a combination between PowerPoint, because you've got this slide in the middle that you can actually drag and drop stuff onto and make it look. It's WYSIWYG Designer. What you see is what you get. And then a combination of that and Excel, because what we've got at the top over here is we've got sort of a Excel type of formula function bar where we can go and type what is it that we want to show over there. So you'll actually see that it shows the record ID at the top over there, then the customer number and the customer name. So in the presentation, you can just go into the title one over there and say that maybe over there, I don't want to show the ID. If you just backspace after the dot over there, So this is especially for the salespeople that don't want to get into anything programming or anything like that. Are afraid it just pops up, and if you lose that pop-up screen, you click somewhere else maybe, which will give you an error message. Just go back to that specific item, go back to this item, take out the dot and put the dot back in, and there we go, and it'll pop back up with the IntelliSense showing you here are all the options that you can choose. So of course, in big bold at the top, I might want to have the actual display name of the customer. And so you can go through the different options. You can actually even click on them on the screen over there. You can change font sizes and colors and things on the right-hand side over there with the properties. And if I've got the display name at the top, maybe over here I want to show something else. And you can go through and you can actually choose a couple of things. Maybe I want to show the email address over there. Choose a couple of things that you actually want to show on the screen. So that's the browse screen. To get through to the different screens, you go through to the detail screen over there. You can modify certain things over there. Go through to the edit screen, modify the stuff over there. But the detail screen and the edit screen, make sure if you change the values that you change over here and the order in which you change them, you keep them the same on the edit screen over there. Just for logical purposes, it just makes it easier for the design of it. Now, at some stage, you might want to see what this app is going to look like when it actually runs on the phone. So on the top right-hand side over there, there's a preview the app button, a little play button up at the top over there. Go and click on the preview the app button, and you can actually interact with this. The best thing about this, and this is what I usually show the customer here at this point as well, is let's go to Worldwide Importers. Let's say we want to edit that, and let's say we change the phone number to 123.123.123, and we save the changes over there. You don't actually need to run this app on the mobile device for it to work. So if I go to Worldwide Importers within Business Central now over here, you'll actually see that if I go to the vendors and I go to Worldwide Importers over there, you will see that the telephone number has actually changed in Worldwide Importers. And I usually just show that to the users just to show them the integration itself. Once you're done, and this is important to get this onto the mobile device, so if in your presentation you're actually going to get this onto the mobile device, you have to go back into the presentation, click on File, and say Save As. So when you click on File over here, you've got to pick an icon on the right-hand side over here. What's the icon for your app going to look like? You've got to pick a color, etc. So you can sort of customize the icon for your app over there. Give it a description over there. Just tell the people what the app is about. Then hit the Save As button on the left-hand side and give your app a name. And once you're done, just hit the Save button on the bottom right-hand side, and you've, in a couple of seconds, created a demo app that you can now, if you log on to Power Apps on your phone, what's going to happen is, and you don't need to share the app over here, because I created this app as the Megan user, and I'm going to log on to the phone possibly as the Megan user. So all you can do is go back, and if you, you'll see that Power Apps, this is the screen that I came from. Here's the screen that I clicked on that opened up my editor screen on the right-hand side over there. So if I close the editor screen on the right-hand side over there and go back, and it's just warning you that if you close this, you might lose any unsaved changes. I just saved it, so I can say leave. And then if you go back over here, you'll see at the bottom over there, your apps that you've created, the vendor demo app and the customer demo app will be there. And when you log on to Power Apps on your phone, you click on one of the apps, it'll actually run the app. And all you need to do is, if you want to close the app and get back to the main screen, is swipe from the left of your phone screen over to the right, and that'll close that app, and you can actually then demo the next app in there. So from within Business Central, getting into it, showing you guys how to set up the Power BI, how to set up the Outlook and integration, and especially how to demo that. And that is a bad sign. I forgot to plug in my laptop when I got back to the office. So as I'm talking, I'm going to just plug in the laptop over here quickly. I've shown you guys how to set up a Power Apps demo account and actually just create a demo environment. So there's a couple of setup works, and there's a little bit of work that you need to do in the background to ensure that your stuff is set up, to ensure that you've got everything ready for your presentation. And you can actually just show the customers. And I've usually got some contingencies, because what I have found, and with Business Central being so feature rich, What I have found is that some people say, it's very nice that you get into the presentation, you spend the first hour of the presentation showing Outlook and Excel and integration and the Power BI and the Power Apps and everything else. So make sure that you don't spend too much time on all of these new features and actually get to show the product as well. I usually then just show the users how to get into, from my settings over there, how to get into the role center. I talk a little bit about the role-tailored approach of Business Central, and ensure that the users know that, because in some of my presentations I found initially that when I wanted to go to certain areas and I kept going to the search feature over here, the users were confused and they were like, do we have to go to the search feature for everything that we want to do? So just make sure that you explain the role-tailored approach. I usually explain the queues over here as well. I explain to them that you can set up the queues over here to give you either green, orange, or red lights. Over here, see the lines at the bottom over there, depending on whether the information is good or bad. And I usually just show that we've got links straight into product training and things like that in there as well. Let me see, do you guys have anything that you would like to know, any questions that you have about presenting and demoing, or even the setups or anything like that with regards to Business Central? One of the things that you shouldn't forget to talk about in demoing Business Central as well, and this is of course something that was released in the October release of Business Central, is the Intelligent Cloud Insights. I spoke about the Intelligent Cloud Insights on the last release, the last instance of our update webinar. If you go into the Intelligent Cloud Insights over here, I usually talk around this area over here. I usually explain to the users exactly what is AI and how does it work. So what I normally do is I normally just get up a sketchy screen, and there's still some sketches on there for the presentation I did earlier today. You'll see over there that what I normally do is come in here and I say to the guys, if I have sales for a salesperson, Peter Sato for instance, and during the month of January, and the sale was $100, sales for Peter Sato during the month of February, and the sales was $200. Sales for Peter Sato during the month of March, $300. All artificial intelligence actually is having a look at the data that's in here, for instance, the amount, and comparing it to the rest of the data across the data set. So you can, for instance, see over here that if we have a look at this data, in our minds we can comprehend this, and we can gain some insight into this. The insight that we might gain is that the later the months go, the higher the sales actually go. If we then added, say, for instance, John Roberts for the month of January, John Roberts for the month of February, and John Roberts for the month of March, and John Roberts' sales was 150, 250, and 400, and we look at this data, we can see that the one salesperson, John Roberts, his sales is generally a little bit bigger than the other users' data. So generally he sells a little bit more than what Peter Sato does, but his data actually shows that this trend continues and then strengthens that trend. And if a data like this is compared against one another, the more data I have to compare, the more meaningful the insights are that we're going to gain into this actual data. And all artificial intelligence actually is the ability to look across tables with 50, 60 columns of data with millions of rows and doing this type of analysis. Now, artificial intelligence on its own might not give you any meaningful information, but what Microsoft has actually done is they've contextualized it to the data that we have within the accounting system. It knows what the data is, it knows what we're looking at, it knows how this information is compiled, so it can give us meaningful insights into the information, like the information that we see running across the top over here, showing you that the largest posted sales invoice was for 15,800, and it tells you that you closed 16 more deals than the same period last year. If you go to the Intelligent Cloud Insights right at the top in the menu, and you click on Intelligent Cloud Insights, you will see all of the different insights that's been gained into your actual data over there. So I normally to show this as well and explain to the users what artificial intelligence is, because artificial intelligence is something that in the industry we might know a little bit more about it, but I find customers still find that a little bit of a scary concept about what artificial intelligence is and what it means for their business. So just explaining it to them in that meaningful way, I found actually does set them at ease quite a bit. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about how to set up any of this or anything else that you'd like me to show you to set up, okay, I see we have a question over here. Which countries have a demo tenant? I've done the trial demo building, getting a Cronus NL database. So the reason you keep getting a Cronus NL database is when you go to demo.microsoft.com, when you click on create tenant in there, it actually pops up and asks you in which data center would you like to host that. So if you choose UK, you will get a UK-based company. If you choose Europe, Middle East, and Africa, you will always get a Cronus NL database. And the Cronus NL database, there's nothing wrong with it except for the fact that some of the data, like for instance, when you're trying to explain to the user about the role centers, all the role center names will be in Dutch. And there's quite a bit of data in the system that when you keep showing this, all of that data will pop up in Dutch the whole time. So if you want to have a pure English demo tenant, and the Cronus UK is pretty much what's always been used as the W1 demo tenant. So make sure that when you go to demos.microsoft.com and you spin up the tenant, make sure that you choose UK as the tenant over there. Make sure when you click through the screens, when you click on create tenant, it pops up and says which area or region would you like to have that demo tenant in, and make sure you select UK at that point in time, because that's what actually causes it to have a Cronus NL database every single time you create a demo tenant. I almost forgot that I wanted to show you guys this. So what I normally have in the background as well is on Azure, I have a server that I spin up. And I did not notice that it didn't open my Business 365. Dynamics 365 Business Central tenants over there. But what I do is I normally spin up a PowerShell tenant in the background over there. Sorry, a Docker tenant that I spin up in the background over there. So I create my own server and download from Docker an image, the latest Business Central image. Now, if you actually, and this is something that for those of you that are a little more technical, if I can just get to the right screen over there. PowerShell. I struggled a little bit to find the Business Central Docker image. So if I go to Docker images over there, and I've used the server quite a bit to download a whole bunch of different versions. So you'll see over there, in the past, when we said Docker pull, we used to pull from Microsoft /Dynamics NAV, and then we would say dev preview or generic or 2018 CU3 to get specific CU versions, etc., or to get the latest versions, etc. So you'll see over there, if I, for instance, want to have my new Business Central one, the repository for the Docker images is actually moved to mcr.microsoft.com/Business Central /on-prem. And then if you put latest, you get the latest version of that. So what I've actually done is I have actually downloaded that latest version, and I've actually spun up a demo instance, and that's the one that I've got over here, and you'll see that it's the full Business Central. So I normally have this as a backup. The downside about this, it's not as easy to actually set up your Office 365 integration and all the rest of the stuff. It does take quite a bit more work. So if you really go through all of that effort, and it is a little bit more technical, you can actually still show all of those features in here. But what I normally do is I usually leave this. And what's nice about this as well is when you're demoing on Business Central online over here, have a look at this. For instance, if I go to fixed assets over there, and I want to demo fixed assets. See, for instance, today when I wanted to demo fixed assets, there wasn't a single fixed asset in here. So this fixed asset is actually what I created in the demo. But at least when you go to Business Central and you go to your fixed assets in here, you have the good old Cronus on-prem data in here. So if you know this data fairly well and you've been demoing on this data for a while, I would much rather come into this area over here. There's much more data. There's actual production information in here, production bills and materials, etc. So if you want to demo the different areas, you actually have access to much more demo data and much more information in this tenant than what you do in the online tenant. So when I demo, I usually use a combination of the two. I use this tenant over here to actually show all of the actual features itself, the Excel integrate, the edit in Excel, the Office, and all the rest of the stuff, Power Apps. But then I switch to my on-prem tenant to actually demo the rest of the stuff. Let's see if we have any other questions over here. I see someone is actually busy typing over there. We've got about 8 minutes left, so I'm going to leave the last section open to questions and answers. If you guys don't have any more questions, we'll call it a day from me here. I think I've shown everything that I wanted to show. Guys, if you, oh, I see there, it doesn't seem like someone is actually typing over there. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute your microphone and just ask the questions instead of typing them in the window on the side over there. Love to hear your feedback on the session that I held today. We weren't as big a crowd. I actually wasn't expecting a big crowd because we had so many announcements and everything with the last session that everybody attended that one. I wasn't expecting a lot to be new. That's why I thought I'll present this, and I hope that it was useful to you guys. I hope that you could take away something from this that you can use in your presentations. I hope that you can that this information will help you do more meaningful customer presentations, etc. And thank you very much for joining this session. I'm going to stick around for another minute or so if anybody has any questions. Let me maybe just, if any of you have any other questions that you'd like to ask, what I'll throw up on the screen over here quickly is just my email address. So if any of you guys want to get a hold of me, my email address is available right there, and you can pop me a mail and ask me any questions as well. Thanks for attending, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Danielle?
Yes, thank you all. The session has been recorded and will be shared tomorrow. On the 7th of December, we have our next update call. If you have any other urgent question about Dynamics 365 Business Central, on Friday we have another QBS office hour where you can join and ask our colleagues for questions. Thank you all and have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.